The West could not be more wary of private credit. In fact, just last year, the International Monetary Fund actually flagged it as a risk. It said that short term loans to companies by private equity firms and other asset managers could threaten financial stability. There have also been studies and reports that have pointed to the same eventuality. The general consensus is that private credit increases the risk of future financial crisis. And yet, India's stance on it is far more optimistic. These days, hardly a week goes by without a big private credit deal making headlines in India. Just take Deutsche Bank's $3.4 billion financing deal, which happened to be the country's largest ever. Or KKR's $600 million debt to Manipal Education and Medical Group. Even construction giant Shapoorji Pallonji has tapped into this wave. There's a level of excitement and urgency among global lenders and private equity firms to lend to Indian companies like never before. And that's not all. From the ad-tech company InMobi Technologies to the quick commerce startup Zepto, there are also founders who are reportedly seeking to borrow from private credit firms to increase their own stake in the companies. So far, India's financial regulators have not sounded the alarm. That could have to do with the fact that private credit, with $25 billion in assets under management, is still a fraction of the over $2 trillion global industry. These assets are just 0.6% of India's GDP, while in the US, they are 4%. But of course, it's not all sunshine and rainbows either. There are some dark clouds in the horizon here in India as well. You see, between large fundraisers, falling interest rates, and higher competition, there's immense pressure on private credit yields. And Bharat Gupta, a partner at EY, told us that in situations like these, mistakes are bound to happen. Since February, India's central bank has been on a mission to inject more money into the economy. It's cut the lending rate for commercial banks from 6.5% to 5.5%, and in June it went a step further, slashing the amount of money banks need to park with the RBI. That move alone is expected to free up 2.5 lakh crore rupees, or about $29 billion, into the financial system. And this is coming at a time when India tries to bounce back from its slowest growth in 4 years. Now, the message to banks is loud and clear. Start lending again, especially to the companies that they had once walked away from back when bad loans had spiked to over 11% in March 2017. Back then, many of these firms ended up turning to non-bank lenders. And now, more and more, they are turning to private credit funds. So, what changed? Welcome to Daybreak, a business podcast from The Ken. I'm your host, Rahel Philippos, and I don't chase the news cycle. Instead, every day of the week, my colleague Sikta Sharma and I will come to you with one business story that is worth understanding and worth your time. Today is Wednesday, the 9th of July. Here in India, fledgling private credit funds finally got their big break after the bad loan crisis, because that's what led to Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code of 2016. The insolvency process meant juicy deals for credit funds, often with an internal rate of return of 20% or higher. And that's what ended up drawing major private credit providers like Ares Management Corporation and Goldman Sachs to India. Of course, when you're big-time providers like these guys, you aren't just looking for any deal. Only large deals will do. And unfortunately for them, those have really been dwindling in the past few years. Meanwhile, domestic providers who only invest in India have managed to consistently increase their share in private credit. In fact, in the year ended March 2025, two homegrown financial services groups, 360 ONE and Kotak Mahindra, accounted for 1 in every 4 rupees of new credit deals. But here's the thing. Who lends the money is not half as important as what they charge their borrowers. And private credit funds can't quite name their price as they used to. Rakshat Kapoor, head of private credit at Motilal Oswal Alternatives, which is the private investment arm of Motilal Oswal Financial Services, explained to us how NPA-related deals have come down as a lot of them have been resolved. What's more, a buoyant equity market has allowed companies of all hues to raise money. Add to this the proliferation of private credit funds. Data from EY shows that in the second half of 2024, 28 such new funds were registered with the market regulator SEBI, compared with 13 in the first 6 months. Some of them are raising a ton of money too. Take Kotak Alternate Asset Managers, for instance. It manages $6 billion across 14 private credit funds, and it's currently raising $2 billion for a new fund. The thing is, returns for the folks investing in these funds, and by that I mean wealthy individuals, family offices, global pension funds, well, those are plunging. In the March quarter of 2024, 3 in 4 private credit deals offered returns of over 18%. A year later, only 1 in 4 was as remunerative. And that's likely to dip even further. Now, the other thing is that a third of the private credit funds by value in 2024 were for acquisitions. And that largely has to do with the fact that banks can't finance the acquisition of equity shares or land. The latter tends to be a real deal breaker for property developers, naturally, especially considering that land can very often be as much as 80% of the project cost. And then, of course, there was the collapse of non-bank lenders like ILFS and Dewan Housing Finance Corporation. These factors combined pushed property developers to turn to private credit. And today, they are its biggest market. Stay tuned. It's not a this versus that situation. Experts we spoke to explained how typically companies tend to seek a mix of private credit as well as bank loans. Banks can lend to companies for their working capital needs or to build a factory or hospital, though they aren't as quick to sign off on debt as, say, a private credit investor, nor are their terms as flexible. But they make up for it with considerably cheaper loans. What's got some observers worried are the signs of desperation, even before banks fully step back into the private credit game. Just take Shapoorji Pallonji, for instance. Despite a patchy repayment history, it managed to convince investors to refinance its debt, though at a premium, of course. And half of its 9.2% stake in Tata Sons has been pledged as collateral. If there's a default, that stake could be a nightmare to liquidate. Then there's a whole other kind of private credit deal that's been giving investors problems. Just take Zepto, for example. Its founders are reportedly in talks to raise 1,500 crore rupees to private credit, not to fund operations, but to buy back shares from global investors. The goal? Well, to boost domestic ownership ahead of a potential IPO. Now, this is tricky because with startup founders seeking help to increase their stake, their net worth is tied to their own companies. So if the firm's fortune suddenly nosedive, the investors will be left in the lurch. And that's not something that all funds are cool with. 360 ONE Asset, for instance, lends to groups with businesses that have a strong operating history and a profitable track record. Now, all of this points at just one thing. For India's economy to expand at the government's much-desired 8% every year, companies have to have access to adequate capital to fund operations and invest in growth. But with banks hemmed in by regulation and non-banks keener on lending to consumers than to industry, private credit has become both unavoidable and even essential.
Daybreak is produced from the newsroom of The Ken, India's first subscriber-focused business news platform. What you're listening to is just a small sample of our subscriber-only offerings. A full subscription unlocks daily long-form feature stories, newsletters, and podcast extras. Head to theken.com and click on the red subscribe button on the top of the website. Today's episode was hosted by Rahel Philippos and edited by Rajiv CN.